Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. It is bingo night tonight with the geometrics theme that has changed over the week. I don't know if you noticed that. Cheers, my dears. It is great to see you on Friday. Great to be here with you. And you have to be honest with me. Can you hear my fan? It's on super low. It's about 140 degrees in this room, or so it feels. If you can hear it at all, I'm shutting it off because it is getting cooler by the minute as evening progresses. I see some new buddies on here. Robin, great to see you. Robin, I don't know if I told you I love the recent piece that you did. It's absolutely gorgeous. Cosmic Doreen, how is it going? Happy Friday. Becky, happy Friday. Cheers, my dears. Gainer, happy bingo night. Happy Friday. Cheer. I thought it said IPA. It says PA from IPA. This is a Mai Tai, and I just started. There's no reason for this kind of silliness. Greetings, PA, obviously. Karen, great to see you. TGIF with your red wine. I'm going to take a sip too. And Linda H. in Mass. Cheers, my dears. Mom, cheers, my dears. We've been together we've been over there for 3 nights. Talk about imposing ourselves. Me and the kids went over to visit with my mom, and we had some nice times at a big video arcade because it was rainy, and the mall because it was rainy. But then we got a beautiful day and we did ice cream stuff, and I'm starting to feel this summer thing. Starting to literally feel this summer thing. April, great to see you. Cheers in Illinois. I'm so glad you're there. Thank you for joining us. Joy, I saw you got tickets later on today, and I thought, oh, good, you're there. I've missed you. What is Doreen saying no to? Did somebody ask a question that I missed? Let's see. The fan. Oh my, the fan. Thank you. It was me who asked the question. Thank you. Because to be honest, it's terribly hot and oppressive. I might expire if I turned it off. I was just being polite. So I'm so glad. Thank you. Linda Ann, great to see you. Happy Friday. Cheers in Edmonton, Alberta. Great to see you. Good. I'm glad. You tell me if it changes, though, for some reason. Daniela, great to see you. Lots of buddies logged on. I will keep an eye on this thread as we go. These are busy days. We don't have very big get-togethers on Friday nights in the summer. I remember that from past years, because summer everybody gets going, don't they? The fan, thank you. I forgot as quickly as that. Isn't that horrendous? My God. Sorry for the slurping. I put ice cubes in there. That is the recipe for a slurp. So it's good to see you all. Happy Friday. It is bingo night. And a huge shout out to my love, Kira, for making this bingo night for us. I know she's extremely busy right now. She's bogged down with all manner of things. Lisa, great to see you. And I really appreciate her taking the time to do this night for us, because it is a lot of work and it is a lot of time, and I'm doing some serious catch-up work, and I'm still submitting stuff for the first book I was working on the second one now. So got a lot going on at once. I could really use the help, and I really appreciate that. So I'm not going to do too much with news because it's a Friday night. It's our happy get-together drinking night. It's for there. Oh, okay. It's 7 here. I guess it's the time difference between the two coasts, right? Just reading your comments. So, what we do, if you are joining us for the first time, our bingo night is a very special night. It comes once a month. We do bingo night once a month, and we do gallery night once a month. And on gallery night, we celebrate our work, each other's work. We look at what people are working on in our group, and what they're about to start, and what they've just finished, and all of that. Paula, great to see you in hot California. I know how you feel. It is wickedly hot now. It is like devilishly hot. Oh, thanks, Kira. I know. I don't know if she's logged on right now. She is just like super, super, super busy this time of year. She's just been busy for a long time. She's such a sweetie, too. So bingo night, if you're playing with us for the first time, if you don't have a card and you're not playing, this will just be a commentary night for you, and you will have the chance to look at some beautiful rugs, and that is great fun, too. For those of you who are playing, there were 12 cards, and they were like in a cyclic manner sent out as they were ordered, right? So a lot of people buy quite a few cards. I think we have 50-something cards right now sold, maybe heading towards 60. I'm not sure. I forgot to look right before I came on because I know there were some last minute ones. But there's 12 different cards, and in theory, mathematically, it should work that one of the 12 cards works. So the odds should be 12 to 1s. With math, I don't understand it. So it's hard to say, but from my experience in running all these shows, we've never had more than one winner ever since we changed our formula, right? So cheers, Lori. Great to see you. Give me an opportunity to take another disgusting sip filled with ice. It's hard to do. I'll never forget that comment that somebody wrote on one of the videos, like how disgusting that I made a slurping noise. Didn't even notice, but now I am very well aware of making those noises, so I will try to stop. 57, thank you so much. Right under 60, that's great. Joanne, great to see you. Happy Friday, your first live one. Woohoo! It's a good night to be on too. So whether you all are playing or not, I know a lot of people are logged on and not actually commenting because your computer doesn't allow you to. Juliet, great to see you. But regardless, it's a great night of commentary. I will be spinning the Wheel of Fortune, and that will dictate what number we land on. I'll take the number. Oh, I should get my scissors, should I? Oh, let me spring up for my scissors. Hang on. I will spin the Wheel of Fortune. I will make a call. I'll cut that off, and I will look at the sheet and see what it is. And on your screen, because we do slideshow times now, I will show you the picture close up. It may be on your card, and if it is on your card, you're just going to scratch it off like regular bingo. This is bingo blackout, meaning every call on your card, every compartment needs to be scratched out. It's not directional bingo. It's not directional. It's not aligned. It's the whole card. Otherwise, we'd be done in 10 minutes. So, Juliet, oh, in Maryland, not playing, but sitting. Perfect. You're sitting doing your rug hooking. Well, that in a lot of ways is even better, isn't it? Oh, I'm so glad. Whitney, great to see you. Happy Friday to you, too. So this is one of our great nights of the month for sure. We didn't do it last month because I was away. So again, it's blackout. And if you make a mistake and you forget and you call bingo, it doesn't matter. We'll remind you that it's blackout that we're playing. I wish all of you very good luck. I hope you win $1 million. It's impossible, but I hope that you do somehow. And in the meantime, you have to say it with me as I do our first spin. Wheel of Fortune! Okay, wait a minute. I have numbers. I'm not going to do the numbers because I know I call in a different way for you. Got to get these little sips in. It's so hot. I need to keep taking sips. So this looks like the closest one is going to be, I think it's going to be this one. Let me see. I might have to draw you a little bit closer to me. I'm going to switch over to our bingo screen and come to this call, which is stained glass. Let me see. Stained glass, number 2. Let me just double check. Yep. So this piece is called, now help me out here because I forgot to double check the cards and I'm not actually holding any cards. Barbara, great to see you. Happy Friday. Does it say stained glass for you, this one? This is a beautiful piece, stained glass number 1, designed and hooked by Gloria McPherson, New Bloomfield, Pennsylvania, 2016. It is 34.5 inches by 15 3/4 inches, number 6 cut wool, silk, velvet, silk and wool yarn on linen. And it is inspired by Franklin Lloyd Wright designs, by his designs, and adapted from a pattern in Prairie Designs for Stained Glass Windows, 10th Anniversary Edition by Alex Spatz. That's S-P-A-T-Z. This is also featured in an article from Rug Hooking Magazine, one of the celebration issues. I can't tell which one by looking at it. Yeah, it's just called From Stained Glass to Wool. That was the title of the article. So if you wanted to read the whole article on the background of this piece, it'd be worth putting into Google Rug Hooking Magazine, Stained Glass, Gloria McPherson, and the article is called From Stained Glass to Wool. Now, this is just a glorious piece. Thank you, Robin. This is just a glorious piece. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright is not out of copyright yet. He's got about another 15-20 years unless his estate is renewed, which is highly likely because he's also a famous architect, right? So there's a lot of pans on the burners there. It's not just the paintings, you know, or the drawings. But his stained glass was so you know, exceptional for its time. We're looking at moving from like a very, very fluffy, fancy Victorian period into the more austere periods like you know, Art Deco, arts and crafts, and finally like the sort of bungalow houses that took over at this time that would always feature both exterior and interior stained glass in styles just like this. It's really a moment in time, very sort of 1930s feeling. There are other images that I pulled up for you that I just wanted to show you. So cross this off if you have stained glass #1. Cross that off. And I just want to show you some other images of Franklin Lloyd Wright. Oops, that is not one of them. That was a spoiler alert, not a call. I just got going a little bit rabbit hole time looking at his pieces and his work, not so much his architecture tonight. Hello, Lynn. But his more decorative pieces, right? Like these kinds of things that could be adapted to stained glass. And I just thought, you know, it's so extraordinary, isn't it? It's such a moment in time. It really is so deco. And it really makes me dream of a little bungalow house with like lots of built-in library shelves with all of this kind of stained glass inside, right? Wouldn't that be a thing? So I just put some into the slideshow because I thought, why not, right? So beautiful. It's so different. So remember, you can easily be inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, but he is not out of copyright. He is not in the public domain. So we're waiting for 70 years after the person's death, and at that point, then we kind of hang out and wait and see what the estate does, make sure that it does go into the public domain and not renewed, right? But you can certainly design like him, and there is a wealth of stained glass books. His are, they cross very geometric, theme of tonight, with a lot of curves, right? He's not doing like figural stuff or animal stuff or landscape stuff. It's very abstract, a strong emphasis on a real foundation of heavy geometrics with the interruption of a lot of curves, and particularly balls and circles and spheres. So planetary looking stuff, you know. Interesting, interesting. So call number 2. Let's see, I might take one more sip too. Now that is right down the middle, so I think, no, it's right here. Let me come over here and see what we got. I'm not going to call the number because I know that that's confusing. I'm going to check the number on my papers. This is Rickrack. Rickrack. So let me come over here and bring you some Rickrack. Let's see. I'll tell you, ever since the discovery of this slideshow thing, life has been different, hasn't it? Hasn't it been so much better? I'm going to take a little sip and say cheers, my dears, again. If you have Rickrack, make sure that you cross it off your page. That's just another great square to be gone. Now, this obviously refers to the kind of trim, right, that's been popular for 100 years at least, that sort of zigzaggy trim that people from like the 1920s to maybe the 1970s would sew as trim to clothing or on craft projects. It's a little zigzag, you know, it's like a little ribbony looking thing, Rickrack. The dimensions of this glorious piece are 51 by 34. This is made up of number 9 through 9.5 cut, new and scrap wool on linen. So the proportions are very big, and the cut is very big. We don't often talk about a 9 cut. You know, that is squarely a primitive. What am I doing on that bicycle tire, Lynn? Well, it is bingo night, and I should pull you back further. I'll do it at the end. But I have this bicycle tire that has all these calls. I taped all these numbers to it so we know what bingo call comes up. But this is an old bicycle tire that we made for the backyard. It's mounted to an old metal Christmas tree stand. I'll see if I can show you later. It's so cute with little pine trees in it. You know, it's like a real old one. So it's a good heavy stand. And it's just a regular bicycle tire that I spray painted for when we have parties in the backyard. And I did different colors. So when we play with it out, you know, in the back when Jocelyn has a birthday or Teddy has a birthday, and people spin the wheel, they get that amount of tickets, and then they can go to the candy booth that I always set up, and they can choose, if they have like 20, they could choose maybe like a Hershey's bar or something like that. So it's just a piece of crazy folk art that helps me once a week here and twice a year with the kids' parties. This piece, Rickrack, was designed by Nancy Parcells. I know we've talked about her before a lot. And hooked by Sherry Jane Bennett of Chattanooga, Tennessee, 2016. The photo is by Jesse Langston. I'm just looking at what was written. It was just a repeat. And this also was featured in Rug Cooking Magazine Celebration Hall of Fame, and it was just called Rickrack. Interesting. So again, you know, I think this, yep, no, this is right. Sherry J, meaning Jane Bennett. So if you want to look at more of her work, you can look that up online. But this is an extraordinary piece, and this was our second call, Rickrack. So let me close this down. Hold on a second. There we go. QR. All right, there we go. And I'll come back to you for our next spin. Let's do it. I'm drinking a Mai Tai out of a Claire Murray rug. Is that like a contradiction of everything? Common sense, right? All right, let me see. It's easier to do this with two people, but I am all alone. But you know what? Nobody's going to bust in behind me without any clothing on, which sometimes happens when I run these shows from home. So, and I mean the children, of course. So let me see. This for me is number, I won't say it. The call is Kai's Jack. K-A-I's apostrophe S Jack. So let me bring that up for you. You know what that looks like, whether you have it or not. If you have it, you got to cross it off. If you don't, you're just looking at a lovely piece. B, C, D, E, F, G. There it is. There it is. Oh, Jack, like a playing card. I got it. So dimensions 30 by 55. The materials are number 4 through number 6 and number 8 cut. All wool on linen. Adapted from a traditional playing card and hooked by Kathleen Harwood of South Hadley, Massachusetts, 2004. The photo by Van Zandbergen Photography and featured in celebration number 25. You know what? There was a full interview in that issue of Rug Cooking Magazine. I thought I had it printed out. I don't think I would read it right now, but I want to read it to you eventually. I don't seem to have it. Hang on just a second. You do your cross and outs, and I will do my check in my bags. And yeah, I don't have that. I had a bit of supplementary info. I'll read that another time. I looked up Kathleen Harwood because she had quite a few nice pieces that had appeared in Celebration magazine, which is, for those of you who are new to rug cooking, Rug Cooking Magazine is one of the 2 periodicals that are associated with rug cooking, along with ATHA, and that is the sort of trade magazine. The ATHA are chapters that people can join, the Association of Traditional Rug Cooking Artists, and they produce their own magazine. They are both lovely magazines that are super relevant and inspiring for rug cookers. But Rug Cooking Magazine puts out Celebration on a regular basis, and it really is a celebration of what they consider to be the best rugs of the year. So sometimes when I refer to Celebration, I'm talking about the articles and the rugs that were chosen for those volumes. Juliet says, what cut width number is like a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch? I usually use yarn, but I have been hand cutting some velvet. Just curious. You know, I have that as a chart. Let me think. An 1/8 of an inch would be something like, I would say maybe a 4. Help me out here if you know, or if you can look it up quicker, because I don't dare change my screen. And a 1/4 of an inch, I would say, would be more like a 7. But let me know if you can get more precise than that. Just picturing what it looks like for me, I'd say like a 4 and a 7. But you let me know your opinion too, and maybe somebody can look it up really quick, because that chart is available and it is handy. But only if you're hooking with, you know, if you're cutting with those wheels, like the Bliss wheels or one of the big cutters, you know. If you're cutting it with your scissors, it's just thinner or thicker, and that works too. The person who had the piece in here that was a number 9, now that's quite thick, right? That's quite wide, and there are people who hook just with selvages, which are the sort of edges of the wool that some people don't like at all because they have little ribs, a little bit of texture in there. But some people love hooking with selvages. And in fact, when I was on the Cape and I went to that Cranberry Guild show, right, of the ATHA Guild, that company, Fluffy Peachy Bean, right, help me out here, had a stall up, and she was lovely, and the stall was lovely, and she actually sold bags of just selvages, and it made me think, yeah, people do like to hook really wide too. Very primitive, very specific. I better not go down too many rabbit holes, right, or we'll be here forever. All right, let's see, well, this certainly looks like the middle, so I'm going to take this one. All right, and oh, good, Karen, thank you. 26, hold on, you didn't hear that. Let me get this to you. That is the wrong one. Wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong one. Hold on. The fan just blew my stuff. I got it. 18 is Deco Galaxy. So that's one of my pieces. So let me see. Kira is so nice. She always puts a lot of my pieces into these shows. She likes to show me off because she knows I don't do that too often. I always get a bit like, nah, I think they see my stuff enough. but she always puts lots in. This is called Deco Gallery. I did this piece when I had just discovered that great BBC mystery series called, I think it's called Rosemary and Thyme. Do you know the one I mean? It was only a few episodes of it, and I watched the whole series within like one day or one weekend, and I hooked this piece during then. This is on monk's cloth. This is an all yarn kind of sampler with circles all cut up. Talk about Frank Lloyd Wright, right? He did a lot of this kind of cutting up of circles. But Deco Galaxy, I put this out a while ago, and I put it out as a yarn sampler, so it came with like a whole crazy mishmash of different kinds of yarn. I think it's still available. It's all yarn, and some of the cuts are, the reason I call it a sampler is because some of the cuts are like thicker, like a worsted weight, maybe a DK weight once in a while, and a lot of the cuts are lace yarn, kind of mohair, sock yarn, very thin yarns, right, if you're used to hooking with yarns. And I gave the tip that if you were doing this piece, it's completely a mishmash, right? You just put it together the way that you want to put it together. There is no color scheme. You go as you loved Rosemary and Thyme. Wasn't that an adorable, very cozy mystery series, but it was smart, about two women friends. I liked it. I liked it so much I binged watched the whole thing, and kind of, I can watch it again now. I watched it so fast I think I forgot the solutions. But this was a fun piece to do because it went fast and I was picking out colors as I went. It really was a lot of fun. I put tips into it, like make sure if you're using the really thin yarns like the sock yarns that you double up, triple up, or even quadruple up just to get there faster, right? You don't want to be laboring away with sock yarn on a large piece. I really liked doing that piece. I still like that piece. I was going to say something about doing the geometrics for that, and it just exited. It'll be back. Next call. In the meantime, let me take one more sip. Give me some ideas for more things to binge watch. I'm watching the new season of Mrs. Maisel, of course. I can't live without that. I'm way behind on that. Some of the mysteries that come out lately, they're a bit too violent for me. I'm not like a total baby, but sometimes they're just so grotesque. I don't feel cozy at all, and it doesn't pair well with rug hooking. So if you know of any great series, let us know, because I think we're always looking for things to accompany our hooking that is sort of, appropriate to hooking and not completely boing off the wall. This call is Still Life with Teapot. Still Life with Teapot. So let's see what that looks like. Is that your style, Juliet? Ooh, right there. Still Life with Teapot. Looks just like this. Ooh, what a cool piece that is. Dimensions 16 by 23.5. Materials number 3 cut wool on linen. Designed and hooked by Carol Corner, Koerner, of Bethesda, Maryland, 2002. Also featured in Celebration number 13. Kira wrote, it's probably taken from Rug Hooking. In Still Life number 3 with Teapot, my goal, okay, so this is in the voice of Carol. My goal was to capture the shine and the reflections of my favorite metal teapot using blocks of bold color instead of resorting to metallic fabric or thread, which doesn't work. I love the Still Life, which was set up on my kitchen stove for its composition of repeating circles. Ooh, how clever. Let's talk about that in a second. I used objects found mostly around my home for my still lifes. So she routinely sets up still lifes for herself. What a good idea that is, right? Oh, Lynn, don't get me started on Murder, She Wrote. I put on the Hallmark Channel every morning and I watch it. If I wake up at like 4 or 5, I watch it for hours before they switch to Monk, which I also love. But I cannot get enough of Murder, She Wrote. I just love it. My sister is such a purist. She only likes the episodes that are set in Cabot Cove. And I don't like the really exotic ones that are set at zoos in like Africa and things like that. It's too far out for me. But I like the one that's set. My favorite one is the one at the Irish Castle. I like some of the travel ones. So Carol sets up these still lifes around the house for herself, and what a great idea that is, because you set it up, you like the colors, you photograph it in a few different ways from a few different angles, and think of all the material that you then have on your phone or on your computer that you can consult later. And it's your own photograph, so the word copyright doesn't even enter your mind, right? She says, I see now I had a few problems with perspective in this piece that weren't noticed while I was hooking it. I was pleased that I accomplished what I set out to do. And this is Hall of Fame 2018, and that's volume, again, 13. Volume 13 came out in 2018. So, this is I see what she's saying about the plate, like the apples are sitting a little bit forward and they're sitting a little bit in space, but you know, this is a very graphic piece, and if there are perspective problems here, which I would say nothing is standing out in a huge way to me that I would feel like I had done anything wrong. I think it's really lovely. It's a limited palette. It's a very pop art palette, isn't it? With the bright red and then the grays and the blacks and the whites. That's very modern in the true sense of modern. You know, there's so many things I like about this piece. The reflection, you know, on the teapot is extraordinary. I would not have attempted that. I would have done something much more flat and graphic. That is very ambitious, and it was very successful. All the striations and the coloration on the apples is really exceptional too. Even the border on the plate, bright red and then that kind of orangey color around the rim and then that little inner black border, very fine, very, very detailed, right? Very detailed. But then when she goes over to the stove, oh, Colombo, Daniela, I love Colombo. Oh, oh God, I just remembered. I got my sister, she loves Colombo. Oh, okay, I'm going to be careful when I say this because I don't want you to think that I'm a dirtbag, but I got her, she loves Colombo. You know, Peter Falk is in Colombo, and I got her for her stocking a t-shirt that said Falk, as in Faulkner, right? Yeah. So it was a little bit on the edge there, but she got it, she loved it, and it had a picture of Colombo on it. It was one of the most successful gifts I've ever given. I love Colombo. So, you know, the burner thing is what's really doing it for me here. I like the kind of tile, the receded kind of tile gray lines that make that definition back there. I love the burners. They're so chalky, charcoaly. They kind of come and go, right? You get that powdery texture that makes my teeth kind of hurt. You know, the weird texture of burners, that glassy, frosty, scratchy. Ooh, it's rough. But design-wise, this piece is hit out of the park. There's a lot of circles here, and it's very strong grid, geometric grid on the background. I think this is really clever. This is so ambitious. You know, if you follow in the footsteps of Carol and you decide to start hooking still lifes that you take around your house, that was an ambitious one. You could start by setting up just a few little things, just a couple of little things, right, with no reflections in metal. But that was an extraordinary standout piece, and I'm not surprised that it found its way into Celebration. Linda Ann says, I tend to love most of the PBS shows that come from the UK. Absolutely, I do too. I do too. I love them so much. And you know, I lived in England for years because I did my theater degree over there in costume, and it was right there. I mean, it was only BBC 1, 2, and 3 then. I don't even think there was BBC 4. And there really wasn't anything else. And you paid a fortune to have the TV come on in your house. And the day that you moved in, that guy would be standing outside the house to see if you turned the TV on without getting the license yet. And if you did, the fee, this was like in the 90s, was like crazy for a student. It was like 70 pounds or something like that. It was so unfair. You just want to turn the TV on because you've been moving boxes for 2 days and you haven't had a chance to go down to like the hall in the city to get the license, and then you get this ticket because he's been waiting outside your house. It happened all the time. It happened to everybody. But those shows were great. And what I really loved about living there, and then later in Amsterdam, because it was a similar TV situation, was that they played the most intelligent game shows right through like dinner time. So for 2 or 3 hours, you got like not Clueless, Pointless was my favorite one, I think. There were a few, In My Tribe or My Tribe or something, there were a few back-to-back, super smart, fun game shows. And then they played shows about antique shopping and antique hunting for the next 2 hours to 3 hours. Just hour-long shows like Bargain Hunt, and the one where the antique dealers go through the countryside, and then it ends in an auction and they see who collected the most valuable stuff in the 3 days that they were loose. I mean, they were just such good shows. And then after the antique shows, it switched to mysteries for like the rest of the evening. I mean, how can you beat that? It was such good TV. There was no flipping channels. It was just, you stayed where you were, and it was fantastic. Oh, Robin says, I loved Miss Scarlet and the Duke. I don't know that one yet. I'm going to have to write that one down. I don't know that one yet. Interesting. Oh, I can't find a pen. Robin, if you can send that to me on Facebook, that would be amazing. I'd love to catch that. Pickers is always fun. It is always fun. That's our antique show. But the British ones were so much, just they were in these little villages with these little kind of thatched cottages and these big Tudor manor houses, and they were pulling out the most unbelievable stuff. It was just fantastic. And Karen says, Frankie Drake mysteries. Ooh, I don't know those either. Karen, can you send me the name of those in Facebook? Set in the 1920s with strong, independent women in amazing costumes. Interesting. You know, that reminds me, there was another one. I'm trying to think of what the name of it was. That was another Victorian one. It wasn't like one of the Sherlock Holmes, but it was like one of the main characters was a female forensics person, Victorian era, and she was the one that did the autopsies, right? And the young man with the dark hair and the really long eyelashes, he was the detective. Do you know the one I mean? Let me know. Let me know if you do. It'll come to me. That one was really good too. I only saw a few of them. I don't know if it was canceled or what, but those were really smart mysteries. I'm going to stop. One of my favorite mystery series of all time was. I love the Sherlock Holmes. I think that is my favorite with Jeremy Brett, of course. But they did one called Doyle and Bell, I think. There was only like 4 or 5 episodes, but they were based on the Sherlock Holmes stories, and they were full-length movies. But it ran for, I think, 2 seasons, maybe 3, so it's only a handful. But I think it was Doyle and Bell, and it was about Conan Doyle's actual relationship with his teacher and mentor at university called Dr. Bell. And these mysteries are based on the Sherlock Holmes canon mysteries, but with massive, horrific twists, still Victorian period. Doyle and Bell, I think it's called. That is, honestly, I think it was the best mystery series I ever saw. If you like mysteries, I'm stopping. We're talking about rugs, right? I'm so sorry. This call is number 22, Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight. I love these side conversations. Oh, Narrow Wolf, Juliet, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I know that whole series. I love that series. I love that series. I love the books, and I love the series that they did after it. Now I forgot which call I made. Fantasy Flight. Let's do this. Let's do this. See, I know a lot of us like the same kinds of shows, so it is fun. It's fun to check in. See what you know. Fantasy Flight. This is crazy good. Okay. Dimensions 40 by 29 materials, number 3 to number 6 cut wool on monk's cloth. Designed and hooked by Lyle Dreyer, Dryer, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 2010. And he says, I attend a weekly guided meditation. The images often are quite vivid. One of the sessions featured a hot air balloon rising up into the stratosphere. From there, you could look down on the earth. The image stayed with me, so I designed this rug. I spent quite some time researching balloon colors, shapes, and designs before I drew this pattern. I love the play of light and shadow. The rug is especially meaningful to me, and it hangs in our living room to enjoy every day. And this is, again, by Lyle Dreyer, Celebration Hall of Fame, 2018. So again, that must be number 13, right? If I remember from the last call. This is just so exquisite. This has this kind of photographic beauty. I love the concept too. You know, it does feel a bit new agey. I can see him meditating and sort of evolving this picture, and what a sort of grand and peaceful, colorful picture this would be. It would be hard to get it out of your head once it was in your head. It is just exquisite. The view from a distance from the earth and the whimsy of these hot air balloons being able to rise this high. It really is so lovely. I love how that bottom balloon breaks the border. It's so smart to do that, isn't it? I would have loved it if the one to the top left of it also broke the border. Just a little bit. I love a little bit of breaking the borders. That basket over the border is great for me. It is really, really lovely. I love how the globe is spun to the U.S. and you're seeing the U.S. and in South America, of course, but just a beautiful piece. The colors are exquisite. Phenomenal. It's an extraordinary piece. And you know what? I am going to stop, but I just thought of another one. It's already gone. Can you believe that? It'll come back. I just thought, oh, I enjoyed that so much. Yeah, it'll come back. I can't believe it. Somebody wrote Whitney, Dr. Quinn. Oh, that Dr. Quinn, medicine woman. It's medicine woman. Jane Seymour. She had like 200 kids, didn't she? And she is gorgeous to this day. She is such a gorgeous woman. It's like insane. Isn't it impossible? That was a good show. That brings back a lot of good memories. Oh, how funny, huh? All right, this call is, for me, number 4, Rainbow Runner. This is Rainbow Runner. Let me bring you to Rainbow Runner. Grantchester, that's what I was going to say. That's like a new series. Grantchester is fantastic. Rainbow Runner, is fantastic. 28 by 11 foot 11 foot 2 inches. New and recycled wool, fabric, and cotton crochet thread designed and constructed. Look how she says constructed. By Mary Delano, Norway, Maine, 2011. Mary decided her next piece would be a long rainbow-colored runner for her haul. She collected wool clothing from thrift stores and frequented Craigslist. Next, she purchased a cutter, as rotary cutting was too slow for a large runner. Oh, I see, cutting with like a quilting rotary. Mary wanted many shades of wool in her rugs. She discovered crock pot dyeing and was soon using heat and a splash of pneumonia to leach the color out of strongly dyed wool and neutral plaids and wools. Since yellow wool is really hard to find, Mary taught herself to dye with a few packets of Cushing dye, also a Maine product. That is true. And this appeared in Reader's Gallery, Rug Hooking Magazine. It can be found, Reader's Gallery, Mary Delano, Delano. This is an exquisite piece. And you know, historically, one of the companies that does primary yellow and orange the best, I'm going to say it, is RIT, R-I-T. They do both yellow and orange really well for just the straight on middle color, right? Not the shades and nuances, but they do both of those colors really, really well. You know, this crock pot dyeing is super smart. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to tint colors, right? So that you have many of the same. You can split up what you've got and break one color into, depending on what size piece you're working with, dozens of other colors. Now, crock pot dyeing is a form of dyeing. I'm not going to get into dyeing right now, but I will say, when you think about, we'll look at this for one more minute because it is just beautiful. Daniela says, beautiful, chakras are wonderful. It is so detailed. It looks like Milli Fury to me, like that, you know, Venetian glass. I love it too, Linda, and it is just beautiful. It is so different, so different. Oh God, Sue's the Gamache series. I'm looking back now. I think that is my all-time favorite, the Louise Penny. I haven't seen any. I don't know if they are out, but I think I'm up to date with the books, and she is absolutely one of my favorites. Crazy little, what is it, 3 Pines? Oh, I love them. Such a good series. Are RIT dyes okay to use? Absolutely, they're okay to use. So Daniela, the thing with the RIT dyes, right, they're cheap and they're at the craft store, so people like to dismiss them. But at the end of the day, some of the most beautiful rugs I've ever seen have been dyed, like the Alice Butlers, using only RIT dyes. They are okay. People will argue about their lasting power, but I can't say anything against them. I mean, I've looked at those Alice Butler rugs ad nauseum. Never quite, just a lot. And there is no color loss, and they are, some of them going back to like the 1940s and 50s. So a lot of people swear by RIT dye. They don't have a huge variety of color. I have found for myself with mixing RIT dye, it's better to use the color straight on. I don't have a lot of success mixing them. But if you see the color that you like, and it's as inexpensive as it is, which it is, I would say go for it. You can absolutely use it. Dye is not something that's, unless you're talking about actual beetles or mummies from Mummy Brown, grinding up actual mummy bones, you know, dyes, only certain pigments are very, very expensive. So dyes can be affordable and economic, right? Particularly chemical dyes. So yes, absolutely. Karen says my grandmother only used RIT dye. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, what was I going to say? I was going to say something about the crock pot. Okay, so the crock pot dyeing, or any kind of dyeing, you don't need to do it in a crock pot. You can do it in a pan, like a pasta type pan on the stovetop. Any kind of leaching process that you're trying to do, where you're trying to remove the color from something that is really saturated and get some of that color onto the other thing in there, the wool that you hope to color brighter. Anytime you leach, one of the great things to think about is lining fabric. Like, it's not, it's a synthetic, right? It's always going to be like a rayon or something like that. Sometimes a silk, but usually a synthetic. Lining fabrics that you pull out of anything at Goodwill, whether it's slacks or a blazer or whatever, right? Lining fabric is absolutely saturated in dye. The thing with that, so if you're just looking for more color and you put just a little bit of lining fabric in, you will be amazed at how much dye comes out of it, right? And then that dye is just loose in the pan to dye your wool. You just get rid of that. Well, you can reuse, actually. You can reuse something that you're leaching. But they are fantastic for giving color, but check the water first, because sometimes you put in a piece of brown or navy lining fabric and you end up with bright fuchsia water. And you think, how is this possible? It's because there's a lot of colors and they are so saturated, these lining fabrics. But it's something to think about when you are sort of thrifting and you are dismantling clothing that you are then going to cut up and use to hook. Don't throw away your lining fabric, right? Keep it, because it is so rich in color. Nothing is like it. It's a lot of fun to play with. Before that, so this was Rainbow Runner, right? And before that was Fantasy Flight. I'm going to keep going. That was a big detour for me talking about our shows, right? So let me jet for a while and I'll stop being naughty. So this next call is going to be Ancient Wall. Ancient Wall. And let me come back to you with an image of Ancient Wall. And you will know right away, I think, if you have it. Here it comes. Ancient Wall. What a beauty. Dimension 17 by 25, number 3 cut wool on burlap. Adapted from a photograph in the Minneapolis Tribune and designed and hooked by Bernice Howell. Beltsville, Maryland, 1994. Featured in Celebration number 5. Ancient Wall was born while Bernice was having her morning cup of tea. She was visiting her daughter in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when she saw a picture in the travel section of the Sunday paper of an ancient Turkish wall. Her husband made a slide of the clipped photo so Bernice could project it onto the wall in order to transfer it onto burlap. This was Bernice's favorite hooked piece, worked primarily in shades of beige. She knew texture was essential in creating hooked stones, so she used tweeds, plaids, and heathers in abundance to achieve the rough, hand-hewn look she desired. Most of the wool came from her ever-growing collection from thrift shops. She used most of the fabric as is, but she did purchase and spot dye a houndstooth check. How beautiful is this? This is oh, Carrie, great to see you. And April says, that is so interesting. Thanks for the tip. I would have never guessed that. Absolutely. You are so welcome. This is a beautiful piece. This is kind of a duochromatic piece. It's not a mono, right? Because there's at least one warm and one kind of cool gray blue in there. But it is the same kind of two color families with a lot of neutrals. So this is so hard to do. Bernice did a bang up job. This is the hardest thing in the world to do, get this kind of detail, this kind of light, this kind of texture. This is a beautiful composition because if you think about it, we're looking at an archway. There's patterning everywhere. It makes me think of our friend Kaz, who's in Italy taking all kinds of pictures in Florence. You see this archway, which is so evocative and classical and just really draws you into it. And in the distance, you see that dark diagonal of like a steep hill or maybe a volcano, right? Interesting. It is just astonishing. But this tip that she's giving using patterned wools and not solids is a big deal. And it's really close to what we were talking about in yesterday's show when we were doing Thursday show. I was doing tips and tricks and Donna Swanson said to use for autumn leaves to use patterned wool, right? So that you didn't have to have so many colors. It just kind of changes colors as you go. Same principle with this beautiful travel scene. All right, I think we're right down the middle. I'm going to take this one. And let me tell you what call this is. This will be Outside the Box. Outside the Box. I love it too, Gaynor. And let me open this up for you so you can see what this looks like. Outside the Box. Oh, that is just lovely. 32.5 by 53. Number 6 to number 8 cut, hand-dyed, over-dyed, and as-is textured wool on linen. Designed and hooked by Fritz Mitnick, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2015. Photo by Alan J. King, and designed and hooked by Fritz Mitnick. We talk about her a lot. Beautiful work. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2005. And this was in an issue of Celebration, right? Celebration Hall of Fame. And it was called Quilt Sampler Wide Cuts by Fritz Mitnick. Quilt Sampler Wide Cuts. What a beautiful piece. So much going on in this piece. You know, it looks like there's some serious patterning. I'm wondering, it doesn't say in the blurb that I have, It looks like, I think you can see this photo larger than I can see it. Is that like appliqued actual quilt fabric mixed in with the wool, the hooked wool? Is that what it seems like to you? Because I can't imagine getting this kind of repeat pattern in a million years. Super beautiful piece, very mid-century modern, MCM all over. These interlocking squares, kind of TV sets in the sky. This lovely black background with these just sort of dropped lines of red, very fine and filigree, kind of like an afterthought. It has that super, super 1950s look. It really is so atomic and so cool. I'm anxious to hear whether any of you can see it closer, if you can tell me whether that really intricate patterning of those two particular patterns, or possibly three counting the reddish one, if that isn't, if that's applique. Because absolutely you could take a rug hooked piece and applique fabric onto it, quilting fabric. Why couldn't you? You can absolutely do it. You're just sewing fabric onto fabric, as you do. Let's see, I think we're here, and this is number 8. I gotta speed up. I have been naughty. Ooh, I have been naughty. All right, let's see. So this is called Fungi. Fungi 1. Fungi 1. And let me bring you over there. Looks it to you too, Paula. Okay, good. Yeah, I can't imagine anything could be executed that wasn't, you know, the fabric itself. That would be, it would have to be enormous. Oh, wow. Fungi 1, 17.5 by 28.25, number 3, number 4, number 5 cut wool on monk's cloth, designed and hooked, again by Lyle Dreyer. Waukesha, Wisconsin, 2013. Once upon a time, there was a young woman who loved all things nature. She loved to draw and paint trees. As she got older, she started taking photos of trees, their bark, and their colorful fungi that grew on some decaying trees. Whenever she and her husband hiked in the woods, they came home with more photos. The fungi fascinated her, both their shape and their fantastic colors. Oh, that is very pretty. A little literary moment there. That is just beautiful. Wow, he's amazing. He is amazing. I mean, this is like biological sort of illustrations here, aren't they? I mean, this is like amazing detail. That top part, to me, really speaks to me. I see that kind of fungi a lot. All those colors, the pinks and the pistachio green, I mean, and then the coral underneath. This is just astonishing. What a gorgeous piece. And I know that you are remembering to cross pieces off as we go, right? Wow, this is just astonishing. I'm going to have to look him up and see what else I can see. These are all pieces that look like they took eternity to create. But I mean, man, when you're done and you have a piece like that in your hand, you must be proud. Okay, so this is the closest one. I'm going to have to spin it much harder, aren't I? I'm not getting a good spin here. So this call is going to be on being schooled by a color whiz. It can't be called that. Could it be called Cheryl Bahan? Let me show you the piece. Let's see. Me too, Linda. I mean, this is just, some of these people are just off the charts, off the hook. I'm checking to see if this is called Cheryl Bahan. Yeah, it is. For me, it is. Can somebody confirm whether it is for you too? Yeah, I printed out another piece of paper, and I do not know why I cannot find it. You know what? Look at this for a minute and cross this off. I'm going to jump up and see if I left it on my desk, because you know me, the great moments of Deanna David. Let's see. Gosh, I'm not seeing it. I had, for the ones that I didn't have a lot of text on, like this one, I did some searching, and I found some good stuff, and somehow I printed it and it didn't come with me. In any case, what I figured out, ooh, wait a minute, is that it? Wait a minute, let's see. Nope, I'm just making a mess. Nope, shoot. Well, you know what I figured out, let's do this piece first. So let's get this sorted, hang on. So this piece is by Cheryl Bahan, and let me see, I'm trying to remember what number I said that was. The article that it came from was in Rug Hooking Magazine. It was called On Being Schooled by a Color Whiz. And I don't think that Cheryl Bahan actually hooked this one. That's what's driving me crazy. If anybody has time, can you do a Google search and check for Cheryl, C-H-E-R-Y-L Bahan, B-E-H-A-N, because I feel like it was by somebody called Deborah that it was actually hooked by her, and the color planning was by Cheryl Bahan. I feel like that was the deal. It popped right up when I Googled it. if you have time, I would love to, On Being Schooled. Okay, so it's called On Being Schooled. But I feel like it was not, I think it was Cheryl, the little article that I read, it was just a paragraph because it was like an excerpt from our cooking magazine, was saying that the teacher was consulting the student on colors because she was teaching, one was teaching the other rug hooking, and the one who was being taught was extraordinary at color planning and actually colored planned this, and I think that that's Cheryl. I'm sorry about missing that piece of paper. What a waste of time putting that together, right? But this is an extraordinary piece, and I think one word comes into mind when we look at this piece, and that is Escher, or tessellations, right? Just experimenting with moving the same form backwards, forwards, up, down, and creating a pattern, right, from one form. Beautiful hooked border, too. I love the graphic quality of this piece. In the center, it's extremely graphic. Everything is kind of outlined. Amazing color choices. But the border itself looks like kind of a rope or a picture frame, right? And it's done so realistically. It is truly in contrast to the very Escher-like piece in the center. I think it is just astonishing. I agree, Carrie. Definitely took patience and stick-to-itiveness for sure. This is an extraordinary piece. Extraordinary piece. I was completely blown away by that. So frustrated at myself. All right, let's see. This one looks like the middle one here. Let me cut this one away so we don't call it twice. I'm going to cut the number, but I know, I see what it is. Let's do this so we don't call it twice. And this one is going to be Child of the Universe. Child of the Universe. I know this one by sight, and this is really astonishing. Child of the Universe right here. Like, whoa! Dimensions 30 by 30, number 3 cut wool on linen, designed and hooked by Grace Collette of Chester, New Hampshire, 2014. Featured in Celebration 25. This mat was inspired by the poem, wait a minute, gosh, I know this word and I can't say it, Desiderata. I'm so sorry about that. That was a tongue twister. Desiderata, I'm trying to say desire and it's not how it goes, by Max Ehrman. And, quote, "You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Keep peace in your soul." And she wrote, "I depicted the child as my precious granddaughter, loving her puppy, and took a wonderful class on hooking faces with Donna Harkman at Sauter Village to immortalize her. It was a gift for her dad." Again, Celebration number 25 by Grace Collette of Chester, New Hampshire. Absolutely amazing. I agree, April. I think this is my favorite one of the night. It reminds me a little bit of The Little Prince, too. Remember that book? Just because of the planetary reference, and then the little child with that beautiful light blonde hair. So sweet. It has that Holly Hobbie feel. Of course, it's a little boy. But, you know, it has such great appeal because of the planets, because of the colors. The flowers are just beautiful, but it's a good sort of cross between being juvenile and speaking to an adult, right? The text is just beautiful. The sentiment is beautiful. It is so well done that it's just crazy. I think this is my favorite piece of the night. I really love this piece. It's a real standout. All of these are real standouts. All right, let's see. Let's go here. And this call is going to be Pennsylvania. Oh, this is a pretty one. I remember this one too. Let me show you Pennsylvania. I know, April. Wasn't that something else? PQRS. All right, here we go. This is what Pennsylvania looks like. See if you have it. Cross it off. I absolutely love this piece too. 32 by 48. Cut in a number 6 to number 8 wool on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Jan Winter of Hollywood, California, 2011, and featured in Celebration issue number 22. So this is another beautiful piece. This is I was going to say a simpler piece, but when I look at those center motifs, these are like the hexes that you see on barns, aren't they? And then we've got 2 examples of fracture birds on the bottom and the top, sort of like the little lovebirds on the bottom. and then a real like a split fracture design on the top with the heart and the heart border, the tulips. I mean, it's just exquisite. Look at that beautiful patterned background inside the medallion section, right? It's kind of tan and white. It must have been some kind of a plaid or a herringbone. It is extraordinary. You know, there are lots of colors here, but the colors are very controlled, and this is a thing, isn't it? We're seeing blue in the 3 horizontally central motifs, and we're seeing blue on the top and the bottom in the bird. And otherwise, the kind of 4 corners are more in the reds and yellows, and that gels with the 4 corners, the hearts on the corners and the tulips. It is a beautiful composition that has been thought out perfectly. Color-wise, it has been hooked just perfectly. I just love this piece. I love these pen Dutch motifs. I love these hexes that you find on Barnes. I think it is just exquisite. The coloration too in the leafy part, right, around the edge, the kind of scrolling part between the tulips. It's really something. The color changes are just beautiful. That central motif really reminds me, remember that game Spirograph? I'm sure you do that. You use the little circles and you put your pencil in, and it made designs within designs. Jocelyn has been asking for a spirograph lately. I mean, she had 20 of them and she lost all the pieces, but she's asking for another one now that a few years have gone by. Juliet says, reminds me of my toll painting days. Absolutely. Toll painting relies really heavily on pen Dutch designs. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? The flowers and everything, the way that they show you the step-by-steps is super, super similar to the pen Dutch flowers, and particularly the tulips, and even the characters, like the couples and things, and the birds, very, very similar. I still collect those painting books when I see them in thrift stores and things. I still collect them because I feel design-wise like they're very, very inspiring. Sometimes they're on the corny side, but sometimes you see a design and you go, okay, it's a little bit corny, but I can see how I can make this into something else. I like the feel of it. It has a very charming feel, doesn't it? Really eternal feel. I think I'm right here. So this next call is going to be Chinese Scroll. Yeah, you're right, Karen. The cool and warm colors balanced really well on that piece. It's a recipe for success when you have a good balance of color like that, and with the cool and the warm. It is just heavenly. Chinese Scroll, here we go. So this is what Chinese Scroll looks like. Really lovely rug. 64 by 42, done in number 4, number 5, number 6, cut wool on rug warp. Designed by Ann Ashworth and hooked by Karen Maddox of Kerrville, Texas, 2002. Featured in Celebration number 13. This was a free pattern in Rug Cooking magazine, and I fell in love with the colors. Since the formulas were given in the article, and I was a fairly new rug hooker, I decided to tackle it. Enlarging the pattern was a challenge because being a geometric, it needed to be straight with the grain of the rug warp, absolutely. To keep the foundation from being skewered, I tacked it to a large old mattress box laid on sawhorses. I soon learned that a number 6 cut on rug warp was hard for me to pull through, so I went to a number 4 and number 5 cut. I still love this rug. The colors are very satisfying to me. And again, that Celebration Hall of Fame 2018. Now, that is absolutely true. This is a beautiful piece. I'm going to come back to you. In terms of backings, you know, it's worth saying, particularly if you're new, there are a lot of backings to choose from. Burlap has got to be the loosest, depending on the kind of burlap you're choosing. Scottish burlap goes more toward linen. It's a bit finer. Burlap, linen, this is looseness to tight, right? Loosey-goosey to tight. Gail, good to see you. Good morning. Burlap, linen, Mung's cloth, and then rug warp. Rug warp, whether it's poly or cotton, can be very tight. So pulling through a 6 would get to your wrist sooner rather than later. It's a very tight weave, and it's great if you're doing things with, like I think I hooked my Deco Galaxy on rug warp. Maybe it was on Mung's cloth, but I often hook very thin yarn like sock yarn onto rug warp because it's so tight. It really grabs very thin bits, like a number 3 cut wool or very thin yarns. So it's good to remember that, but you don't want to be pushing through number 6s, number 7s, number 8s. It's just gonna get to you. It's really gonna start hurting your hand and your wrist. I keep doing this. I'm gonna spit again. Much more hearty spin. Obvious winner there. So let's see. This is Pearls of Wisdom. Pearls of Wisdom. I could use some of those. Oh, I've had some stupid days lately. Pearls of Wisdom. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, God, isn't that gorgeous? Pearls of Wisdom, 53 by 22 and a half, number 3 to number 8 cut. Wool and metallic yarn on linen. Designed and hooked by Capri Boyle Jones, Navarre, Florida, 2014. Pearls of Wisdom is a captivating rendition of elegant pearls ready to wear. I have always been fond of pearls and found abundant joy completing each pearl on the strand. Isn't that nice? The most challenging aspect was maintaining the round shape of the pearls while developing the wood grain variations with light source and reflections. Well, I'll say, beautiful directionally hooked background, right? Not this sort of reflected polished wood of the table or the vanity, but that sort of tealy green with a kind of horizontal ombre in the background. Beautiful. I love that she said that she enjoyed hooking each one of these pearls. Look at those tiny dots of reflections underneath. Isn't that something? You know, thinking about hooking these pearls reminds me of growing up in Catholic school and doing the rosary. I mean, there is something, whether you are religious or not, there is something so beautiful and peaceful about counting and having something in your hand, whether they're prayer beads or rosary beads or a pearl necklace, having something in your hand that is so tactile that your fingers can move across. It's so smooth, so comforting. Finding that next one right there, even if you're not looking down at it. It's just, there's something beautiful about that I can't figure out, but I know the feeling. Maybe you do too. I think this is just a gorgeous piece. Pearls of Wisdom. We take one sip and we'll spin some more. All right, looks like we got this guy. And that means the call is yum yum, give me some dim sum. Let me see, let me pull that one up. Right here, yum yum, give me some dim sum. How fantastic. I didn't even see this one yet. Oh, I love this. This is the kind of hooking I really love. I love this graphic kind of hooking. If Keith Haring was a rug hooker, he might have done this, right? If only he had lived longer, he would have been doing all kinds of stuff. This is just so beautiful. Materials, Halison Deco rug wool and Botanica wool on monk's cloth. So, oh, interesting. Okay, designed and hooked by Wayne Bressler of New York, New York, 2016, featured in celebration number 28. I chose this design for the whimsical nature that food can have for the pop sensibility that can be achieved. I wanted to capture the fun of eating dim sum and the colorful experience it can be. I believe what still makes this rug successful are the simple graphic shapes of the different variety of dim sum dumplings that are recognizable to the viewer. Again, Wayne Bressler Celebration Hall of Fame 2018. This is so extraordinary. I just love this piece. I love the blue shadow under the different foods, right? Little dumplings and everything, little pot stickery things. I mean, it is so sushi rama, Mom. That's right. Next weekend we have our sushi day because it's my sister's birthday. I just love this. I love the graphic background. Is probably the tablecloth, right? The blue with the green, very mod-looking flowers. That soy sauce over on this side, and a little bunch of reflections in there. It's so smart the way that it's done. The chopsticks kind of leaning in, bringing your eye in diagonally with this great X, right? And X is a great motif in any work. It's very strong. Even if you only use it once, we've got this lovely horizon line, which is a rounded table, and then this X cutting through it. How can you lose? Things in multiples, right? Things in threes. Oh, it just makes you hungry, too. This is just an exquisite piece. I absolutely love this piece. I love the graphic shadow. It reminds me of a clothing design, and couldn't you see this across someone's t-shirt? Very bold and graphic. It's so cheerful. It's so celebratory. It's so colorful. All these different colors of like the I don't know if pasta is the right word, but you know, it goes for like the ravioli stuff that you cut to make these things. All the different colors of it, from like the sort of whites to the vanillas to the more almond colors and the yellowy. It's just cool that he realized that they were all different colors. Absolutely beautiful piece. Yum yum, give me some dim sum. I love that. So let's do more Wheel of Fortune time. Gives me a chance to drink my Mai Tai. That would go good with dim sum, huh? Next call. Let's see what we got. Mm-hmm. Quilt sampler for wide cuts. Quilt sampler for wide cuts. Makes me happy too, Daniela. It does make me hungry. I forgot I haven't eaten yet. But I'm inspired. I'm inspired to empty out the fridge as soon as I get the chance. We're not going to rush this, though. This is too good. Oh, boy. I love this piece. I love this piece. This might be my favorite piece tonight. I know. The Pennsylvania, this one, and the child one with the planets, I've loved all of them, but my personal favorites. This is so good. Quilt sampler for wide cuts, 32.5 by 53. Materials number 6 to number 8. Hand dyed, over dyed, and as is textured wool on linen. Designed and hooked again by Fritz Mitnick. She's brilliant. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh God, she's my hero. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2015. Photo by Alan J. King. Again, designed and hooked by Fritz Mitnick. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2015. And in the Hall of Fame, in Celebration Hall of Fame, it doesn't say which one, but if you search for Celebration Hall of Fame, the article is called Quilt Sampler Wide Cuts, which is the title of this piece. This is just an extraordinary piece. You know, I was always a quilter, and I'm getting a little bit back into quilting because I can see that the crossover is huge for us as textile artists, and I am particularly fond of and getting back to these early sort of quilt applique designs, things that you would find on a Baltimore album quilt. I love the motifs. I love the meaning behind the motifs. I love the geometrics as well. This is just such a nice mishmash. I also love how at the intersections of the blocks, there is a smaller block with a red center. That is really exciting. A lot of true quilt patterns, like the actual quilting part where you would be attaching the backing, the front, and the batting, like the top right-hand corner. Some traditional patterns of actually doing the quilting part of the quilt, and then like the basket that goes back to that era of that Depression era of all the baskets and the schoolhouses. So many lovely motifs. The compass rose in the center, beautiful florals, Dresden plate, just gorgeous. This is just it is gorgeous, Gaynor, isn't it? I just love this piece. I mean, I could look at it all day. I really could. I really could, but we must not. Beautiful piece. Alrighty. Next call. Felix Fenian. Felix Fenian. This is amazing. This is one I used for the thumbnail. Now, I wish that I had my text for this. Hold on one second. Let me find Felix Fenian. Here he is. Here he is. This is an extraordinary piece. Linda Ann says, it's fun, too, because each square, this is the quilt one, the quilt sampler, is like its own little rug. Absolutely. It wouldn't get boring doing that at all. Not at all. And then you'd be able to think of the different colors for each compartment, and how much fun would that be? How much fun is this piece? Felix Fenian. I wonder if you know who this guy is. Let me tell you about the rug first. So this is such a character. Materials number 3 to number 4, cut wool on linen, adapted from a painting by Paul Signac. And it is it's actually pronounced Philippe Fenian. And he was, this person who's being depicted in the rug was a huge sort of kingpin of the late, or the, what do I want to say, like the Nouveau Impressionism movement, right? So not like the original Impressionists, but the new Impressionists like Seurat. He was an organizer, he was a painter, he was a writer. He did a lot of anonymous writing that was very sort of agitating style writing, and he was an anarchist. So he was a very interesting person. I have a photo of him I'll show you in a minute. The person who is depicted in this rug. I love these colors too, April. It's so crazy. It almost reminds me of, what's his name? Peter or Max Ernst? No, it's not Max. No, I'm crossing wires, aren't I? Max Ernst, no, Peter. You know, he did a lot of illustrations for the Beatles songs. Anyway, this was hooked by Susan Cunningham. Now, we looked at a lot of Susan's work. I think, was it the Beautiful Backgrounds article in Rug Hooking Magazine this month? No, it was the cats. It was the cats, wasn't it? Oh, wow. Susan Cunningham. Now it's coming together. Laramie, Wyoming, 2009. Featured in Celebration 20. And it says, this adaptation of the 1890s painting by Paul Signac was a delight to hook right up to the end. No background and no grass. I changed the held object from a limp-looking flower to a glowing orb. Interesting. I changed the area under the extended arm to a gray plaid wool overdyed with orange, which gives the look of a paisley fabric. Teacher Ann Taylor, I shop at Ann Taylor. I think this is a different Ann Taylor, right? Helped me tweak the face by changing just 4 to 5 loops. So she was that close, right? The face really is extraordinary. My husband suggested changing Signac's large blue shaded area at the lower left to different values of blue circles against the darker blue background. So again, this is Susan Cunningham, Hall of Fame 2018. This is celebration number 20. This is an extraordinary piece, and he's just an extraordinary subject. You know, Paul Signac, I have a few things I think for you. I thought I did. Did I? Yes, I do. I have a bunch of things for you here. So I'm just going to say, sometimes I go down crazy rabbit holes that I think you might enjoy too, because this era of Impressionism, even though it's coming at the end of Impressionism, right? It's coming right on the sort of, it's creeping up really close behind like Fauvism, and it's much more colorful than Impressionism was. So when the Impressionists come in after the Tonalists, it looks like they're crazy people because the colors are so unexpected. But when the new Impressionists come in at the sort of end of the movement, like Seurat and like Signac, it's very different still. So let's look at some of the other work, just in case you're interested, because these works would be copyright free because of their age, and that's why she's able to do Philippe Fignaz, because this would be a copyright free painting. So let me come down here because I put together a mini slideshow within to be inspired. If you're inspired by this, right, I just want to show you, this is Philippe. This is his mugshot, one of his mugshots. Very interesting character, you know, very soft-spoken. His wife, I'm not going to get into his life story, but his wife really, she created some kind of a prize, like a annual prize that was for painters. She really kept up the tradition of his work and his life. He was a great painter, artist, writer, anarchist, and organizer, really. You know, Seurat was one of the people, he was very close to Signac, obviously, as well. Signac was an amazing painter, not just the picture that we were looking at, but this is Signac's work, S-I-G-N-A-C. So if you want to look at something really crazy, and you're interested in this subject, and this really speaks to you, think about looking up Paul Signac, S-I-G-N-A-C. You can see it's like Seurat, but I'd say it even goes further. It's really, really something. This reminds me of Seurat, the shadows, using the blue and the lilac shadows. It's very similar work. This is made up, this is pointillism, right? So this comes at the end of Impressionism, meaning this is made up of a bunch of dots. This is pixelated painting. Oops, I'm sorry. It's just a bunch of dots. This one's more like strokes, whereas this one's more like dots, right? You can tell this one's a bit softer. I do too, Danielle. It's just extraordinary work. And not many people know Signac, so it's worth checking him out. Oh, I put the same one in twice. Sorry about that. Really extraordinary work. It's very hard to translate the work of pointillists to rug hooking. But you know how you could do it, and we touched idea blast. We touched on this yesterday when we did our tips and tricks. You know how you could do it is by hooking all white, right? This would be a challenge piece. Do it small. Do a mug rug, right? Start with a mug rug if you like this idea. Hook an all white piece or an all solid color piece, right? Maybe lilac, because they like lilac, or the smoky blue as like the ground material, background material. Do it all one color in a very small cut like a 3, and then get your paints out, your acrylic paints, the folk art paints from Michael's or Joann's, and paint that little dot head, or do it in yarn of the top of each one, and you will have a painted rug hooked. It is like working the same piece twice, isn't it? But it would be super meditative, like making one of those puzzles where there's only one color, right? Some people like that. If you hook all in one piece, you really, that is the only way that I can really see you getting the pointillist look in a rug hooked piece, right? Because what we were looking at, let's look again at Susan Cunningham's piece. It's not exactly in the style, and I should have put the painting into the slideshow. She's smoothed out all the pointillism, all the little dot-dots, and she's just, it's very pop art at this point, and very, very psychedelic. But it was more of a pointillist piece originally. So you can see how you can adapt But you could also go full blast and try to do a pointillist piece, but I really, truly believe that that is the only way that you would get there without a lot of frustration, right? A lot of grief and aggravation. Juliet says the pointillism style, freaking awesome. I absolutely agree. Absolutely. It's one of my favorite styles, and Seurat was always one of my favorite artists. He still is. I love the musical Sunday in the Park with George, starring Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters, my birthday twin. It's just so beautiful, the thought of using dots and glints of light, that when you stand back, and it's not until you stand back, that you see it's so cohesive and you have made something so beautiful that glitters and glimmers with light. That's the thing, isn't it, with pointillism pieces? It's the light. Daniela says, how would it not be a white blob? So what people do, this is like one of these trends lately, Daniela, is that people will hook all one color onto their backing and then they'll paint the loops. So you would have to then create your lines, your image, by painting the loops. But the loops would be all one color, like a blank canvas. We're seeing a lot of this lately in the recent issues of Rug Hooking Magazine. It's a huge trend in hooking. So this would appeal to people who both like hooking one color, very meditative, no thinking at all, right? Just directional hooking. We've seen this done a lot with landscapes lately, and then painting the loops as they come up. Now, if you do wide primitive loops, it would look more like the brush strokes, Signac's brush strokes. But if you did pieces of yarn or number threes, it would come up like a dit dot, and it would look more like the tiny points of light, not the little slashes of light. So it'd be interesting. You know, and again, I wouldn't recommend doing this on a grand scale to begin with, because you don't know if you're going to like the process or the outcome. But why not do this as a small mug rug if it appeals at all, and don't think that white has to be your canvas color. Sometimes using a color other than white gives you a little more confidence because you feel like you're not starting with white, right? It's just like a placebo thing, isn't it? Something to think about. Linda says, another technique I'd love to try. Me too. The more I think about it, the more I think it could be so cool. I mean, I would be really tempted to hook something in like grape purple, and then like paint something on it. Because I would want some of the background to show. Of course, some of it would naturally show, because if you're only painting the top of the loops, this is a really good idea, isn't it? This could be real. Oh my God, I just had another idea. I'm scared that I forgot. Wait a minute, I'm scared I forgot the one that I picked. Hold on. Let me secure this, and I'm going to tell you what I just thought of. Uh-oh, I am in trouble. I did a baddie. Hold on one second. You have a sip and give me that hot minute while I figure out where the fan blew the most recent call. Da-da-da. Oh, Deanna, you are a gem. Am I a gem or what? Seriously. Sorry, I'm just checking my pieces. Got it. Okay. Whew, that scared me. What I was going to say was, if you like this idea and you're brainstorming along with me, if you think about it, if you hooked, I just wonder how this would work and if there would be any point to it. Now, one of the big trends in rug hooking is hooking all in one color, right, and then painting the tops of the loops. One of the other great trends lately has been adapting Japanese woodcuts to rug hooking designs. What if you hooked all in one color, let's say tomato red, and then you took, I didn't mean to make that mean face, like a potato, right? Because you know how you do potato stamps or a wood block or whatever, but you could use, well, maybe not a potato because it's too wet. So let's say a foam stamp, and you just dipped it in acrylic paint and you put it on the surface, right? At least it would be an abstract. I'm talking about an abstract or a repeat pattern, which for a mug rug would be perfect. And you stamped the surface of your little mug rug, like smaller than a printer page, right? You could do that, and then you'd get the shape in there, so you'd get the repeat pattern just the way you wanted it. And then what if you took a paintbrush after that and outlined the petals or the scrolls or whatever it was that you chose to stamp? Wouldn't that look extraordinary? I think that's a really good idea. I mean, because you would be basically block printing onto your all one color looped background, and then you could then take out your paint colors, a few more, and you could either outline, or you could outline and maybe do a background design, like little lines across every loop. What if on every loop you had, right? Pretend these are each little loops, like little, rectangle loops that you've got. What if on every loop you had, you took your paintbrush and you just did like that, a couple on each loops, different colors? Can you imagine how pretty and busy that background would be? Wouldn't that be pretty? Ah, I think that we're brainstorming, right, Daniela? This is what's so fun. I like that idea. See, that makes sense to me because I think when you hook all in one color, it kind of goes without being said that you have to be kind of a good artist to be able to make it work at that point. But if you just wanted to do a few mug rugs or placemats or table runners, something like that, or give them as gifts, you could collect foam stamps that were like holiday stamps or autumn leaves. And you could do them in the different colors on the background of your choice, stone gray or something with autumn leaf colors. How pretty would that be? And you could just tidy them up by doing a simple line of paint around them, which takes no artistic skill. And if you wanted to go completely crazy, then you could do like individual small little strokes or whatever on the loops themselves. That could really be amazing. You could, I'm stopping, but you could also take a flat paintbrush, right? So not a round paintbrush with a pointy tip, but a flat one that's wide but flat. And you could actually dip it and like alternate as wide, pick a paintbrush that's as wide as the individual loops, and then just color in certain loops, like a checkerboard or like a mixed checkerboard or like a plaid. I mean, that would be easier and like more, a bit more sort of bohemian artistic looking than forcing a plaid. How that's like doing cross stitch, isn't it? Trying to figure out how all those lines intersect. If you did that with paint, that would be amazing. Interesting. And then, Karen, and then embellish it with beads. There we go. It's gone full circle now. We have taken it to its absolute perfection, the end. Parked it in perfection. That's a great idea. You can't really use it right anymore as like a coaster or something if you're going to put beads on it because that's sketchy at that point. Although if they're small little seed beads, maybe not. But man, that would be something. Wouldn't that be something? I'm trying to think of how that would work as a plant design or a basket design because it'd be very easy to cut. I promise I'm going to stop. Cut a stencil of a basket or a flower pot. And you know how some of those foam stamps that you can find at Joann's or Michael's or on eBay because they're not that popular anymore, you could do it with a stencil too. You don't need the foam stamp. Foam stamp is a little bit more foolproof to me than a stencil, but you could do it either way. If you did the same kind of, but slightly different colors of leaves coming out of a pot, then you could, if you wanted to go totally crazy and you like applique stuff, you could do like yo-yo velvet flowers or wool flowers on there. You could even sneak some Prati in between. There's all kinds of places that you could go. Gaynor, I'm just crazy. I'm less amazing than crazy. But I can see this really being cool. You know, because like we were just saying when we looked at one of these past pieces and I was saying, is that quilt fabric that's been sewn onto the backing? Or, you know, how are they doing that? Well, of course, it must be quilt fabric. It'd be impossible to get that detail. But it wouldn't be impossible to get that kind of detail if you had a tiny little paintbrush out. I'm not talking about expensive supplies from the art store. I'm talking about stuff from the big box craft store, or you get a set of brushes from Amazon. Remember the tip from Thursday? If you use them and you're afraid they're not clean, you just dip them in fabric softener or hair conditioner, and then they are completely clean. Because we're talking about using acrylics, not oils, right? I would use acrylics. They dry nice and fast and hard onto the surface. I would definitely go for acrylics. Or gouache, right? If you like more of a watercolor look, but you don't want to put too much water, I would do acrylics or gouache if you're going to do this idea. Oh, thank you. Making your own foam stamps. April. My heart is beating so fast right now. That's a good idea. You could make your own foam stamps. You could do your own wood stamps, but see, the wood is so unforgiving. And you know, wood prints like Japanese blocks where this all started works great on paper, but it wouldn't work great on fabric. So I think you do have to stick with foam. And I wouldn't do potato because that's too wet. Although I have seen people, remember back in the day, people were getting velvet, stretch velvet, and straight on like silk velvet, non-stretch, and stamping it with potato stamps. And that was working. So that makes me wonder, interesting, some stuff to think about, right? Some stuff to think about. And of course there are rubber stamps, and you can find big lots of them on eBay, on Facebook Marketplace, where it's the rubber part would be better for this process because the rubber is just a bit more soft and durable, right? It's not like wood come stamping down on something like you're printing the New York Times. It'd be a lot easier on the wool loops, but I think foam would be the best. I think it would be the best. This is interesting. I like this conversation. If you evolve this any further, let me know so I don't get left out, because I love this. I could see a lot of possibilities with this, right? You can use cheap foam sheets. Oh my God, April, you're right. They sell foam sheets at the art store. Yes, they do, don't they? I'm just talking to myself. Yes, they do. They sell super cheap foam. Oh my gosh, they do. But I think you'd want to glue a bunch to layer them together, because you don't want it to be all flipsity flopsity when you put it on, because you really only get one good chance, and then you've got to line it up if you screwed it up the first time. So if you are going to use those, unless they sell very thick, I've seen foam sheets. But if you were to glue a few of those together, or glue it onto a piece of wood, like just a flat little piece of wood, like a shingle type piece of wood, or anything, right? Or anything, then you would have a bit more leverage when you stamped it on, because it's not super thick and cushy, the foam sheets. But that would work. That would even work better than a rubber stamp. I better stop. But I love this conversation. I love this. This is a great idea. This is the next big idea. It's going to be like 5 years from now, people are going to go, why are there so many images in Celebration magazine of people doing like all one color hooking and then stamping foam stamps on top? It's going to be this bingo night, isn't it? Oh shoot, I already did pull a ticket. Thank you. You are right. I pulled a ticket. Don't let me forget, number 12 is after this. Let me put that away from the fan. I remember the first one I pulled, New Roads, New Direction. Thank you. New Roads, New Direction. Let's do this. Okay, so let me come down. Let me show you what New Roads, New Direction looks like. No more rabbit holes. We'll never make it. This is another piece. I have two pieces in the show by Laurie Laberge, Laberge. Her artwork soon turned toward the so this is like an excerpt that Kira gave me. New Roads, New Direction. Her artwork turned to the subject of stripes, resulting in a solo gallery show. Geometric abstraction followed, and has been with her to this day. Her current work revolves around clean lines, simple lines of buildings and rooftops. She presently does not do commissioned work, preferring to create work of her own ideas. So we are talking about Laurie, Lori Laberge. And this piece again is called New Roads, New Direction. This was a rug hooking magazine article. So if you search her by her name, you will find all of this beautiful geometric work that she did from her solo gallery show. This looks to me like she's hooking with bulky yarn, or at least 3-ply yarn. Beautiful antique background. She's putting, maybe those are like leather circles that she's added a bead and a little bit of embroidery floss to. So very abstract designs. I've got, like I said, one more of hers in the show tonight. So we'll see a second one, but very, very pretty, very different. New Roads, New Directions. Oh, I had another one, so we'll do that one next. So the next one is called, what was it? Sorry, I put it here, away from the fan, number 12. The next one is called, let's see, I promise you I'm not screwing it up. Thank God you brought me up on that, Doreen. The Alice Rug. All right, let me take a little sip and bring you here to the Alice Rug. Holy mackerel. I forgot about this one. Hold on one second while I sip. The Alice Rug, dimension 60 by 35, number 8 cut wool and hand cut paisley, my favorite on linen. Designed and hooked, another one by Kathleen Harwood of South Hadley, Massachusetts, 2011. Photo by Van Zandbergen Photography. And this was in Celebration Hall of Fame. It doesn't say which issue, but if you are interested in this rug, you should look up Kathleen Harwood. This is Harwood. This is the second one that we've seen today. You saw Fawcett on the last one, Daniela, the abstract, right? Kathy Harwood, again, South Hadley, Mass. And this piece is called the Alice Rug. And I know that this was, because I read the excerpt a little bit, for a cat named Alice, as you can imagine. So beautiful, unexpected geometric center. I like how this very soft kind of lamb's tongue around the geometric center mirrors the rounded edges of the rug. That's smart. I love the cat in all its poses. It reminds me of those French subway posters, right, from the Art Deco period, Art Nouveau Art Deco period. Absolutely beautiful background done in kind of tomato and rust colors, a little bit of brown. So smart. And I love how the cat's eyes are just glittering white. It reminds me of the musical Cats, or the, you know, the poem, whichever you prefer. The new movie which I also liked. You know, the little glimmer of light in the moonlight when you see a cat and they look like their eyes are dilated and they just have this crazy look like they're going to just dart out diagonally and just run crazy. That little mischievous glimmer of light. This is such a smart piece. I love the repeat of the cats. You see how there is a formula to it. If you folded it in half, or even quarters, it's a quarter piece, you would get the same cats, right, in the same position. And that's part of the reason that the structure works so well and it's not confusing to look at, is because the repeat of the cats, if you blur your eyes, right, squint your eyes and blur them, creates kind of a pattern. It's not just willy-nilly, it's not just random. But another beautiful piece, the Alice rug. And I already spun, so let's take this guy. That got me. Our little side conversation really got me. Let me come back to you. And we are looking at crossing off number, well, it's Scrappy Cat. So this is one of the ribbon candy hooking ones that Kira put on. Scrappy Cat is, he's one of the first things that I ever did with ribbon candy hooking. Let me see. Scrappy Cat. So this is an awful photo. I should update this photo. This is just a very simple beginner pattern that I did with a cookie cutter of a cat. We did this in the class in Plymouth last year too, right before Christmas. A lot of people used this exact, it's a big copper cutter to trace and do Scrappy Cat. And then we just did hit or miss, you know, right around him. We made sure that he was dark and that all the bright colors and light colors were around him. I put little corner pieces in just for variety. Some people did, some people didn't. Some people added other little stars and stuff to the background. But super easy piece to do, all hit or miss, right? You just have to make sure that you have contrast there. That's the only thing you have to worry about. And otherwise, you're just hooking. I think that piece was all number 5s, I think. Oh, I think we're here. And this is 7 Tangled Cats by my good buddy Kirsten. 7 Tangled Cats. Let's see. I'm going to bring that up for you right here. I love this piece. I love this piece by Kirsten Gay, and it says and ribbon candy hooking. I sell Kirsten's patterns on ribbon candy hooking, but they are all Kirsten. It is all her. This talent, she does so much with cats. This talent is all hers. Nothing to do with me, except I have them up there so you can buy them and enjoy them. And Kirsten says, I started by selecting a bunch with interesting cat shapes. I think she means silhouettes, from drawings of cats I had made earlier. She scaled them to roughly the same size and created the design. The design has a lot of motion created by the shapes, and while the shapes could be anything, a little study reveals all these cats, right? 7 Tangled Cats. This pattern is available on ribbon candy hooking. I love this pattern. What she did is just what she's telling you. She took a whole bunch of pictures of cats. She cut them into a silhouette, roughly the same size, right? So it wasn't confusing. Suze, you ordered Scrappy Cat because it reminds you of your childhood. Absolutely. It is so folky and sweet. More cats here. But you see how she overlapped, just like Matisse did after he, you know, lost his ability to paint very finely. He switched to collage, and he would paint solid pieces of paper and a color he wanted, and then he would cut them with the scissors and overlap them and do collage work. Same idea as this. You're taking cut out pieces, you're overlapping them any way that you want them to be, and then almost like stained glass, you are hooking the different compartments in different colors. You break them up as much or as little as you want, and as a result, you get what looks like an abstract piece that on further inspection looks more like 7 Tangled Cats, right? So cool. I love that piece. I love all Kirsten's pieces. Oh, Daniela, you're so right. That would be very cool with the Pride Bundle. That would be a perfect piece for the Pride Bundle. I like that. It's got that very pop art feel to it. All right, I think we must be, that's right in the middle. I'm going to come over here. Let's see. Our next call is Basket and Apple Bucket. Basket and Apple Bucket. Let me bring that up for you. Basket and, oh wow. Basket and apple button bucket, 22 by 31, number 4 and number 6 cut on linen, designed and hooked again by Karen Maddox of Kerrville, Texas, 2004. This was in celebration number 15. And it says, on a bright sunny day, I put a bucket. Oh, you know what? This is probably the same person who did the stove with the apples and the reflection in the teapot, right? On a bright sunny day, I put a bucket and basket in the yard. I was interested in the texture of the basket, but I needed to tell more of a story. I decided apples spilling out of the bucket would be the story. Thus, the wording, an apple a day, to let the viewers finish the story in their own minds. Okay, so there's text around the border. You see that, an apple a day? I dip-dyed the rim of the basket and sprinkled dry dye on the dyed brown wool to give the basket a textured look. The bucket and apples were hooked with swatches. Very good. And again, this is in celebration Hall of Fame 2018. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, she is so good at these still lifes. Remember, I'm sure that this is the person who sets up their own still lifes. I'm just checking. In her house and then hooks them. I think that is a brilliant, I mean, because you have fun twice, don't you? You gather things around your home that you really like, and you create a vignette that's a little still life, a little future still life. No, Still Life with Teapot was different. That was by Carol Corner. Interesting. I'm searching through my notes to see what the other one was that was by Kathy Maddox. That's interesting. Because they seem similar in style. Well, this is just exquisite. I mean, the way that the color is cut up with these blades of grass going up, it has like a quilt look, doesn't it? It is so busy. It is so textured. It's so smart to break up that ground, because the whole background is one piece of ground, right? To break that up horizontally, not evenly, not levelly, but to break it up piecemeal, and then to break down the background fabric for each one, but to use the same colors of blades of grass for continuity, right? So you have the same color kind of reaching like fingers through that whole piece. I better stop. I could go on forever. I'm waxing crazy poetic, but let's stop, because it is 8:37. Let's go. All right. I love all these pieces, but let's make some headway. Geometric. Okay, so let's see. What does geometric look like? Let me bring this up for you. Geometric. Oh, this is from Skinner. So Skinner's Auction House. Geometric rug, 19th to 20th century. I think this is well into the 20th century. 66 by 38 3/4. The estimate on it was 200 to 300. I'm not sure where it landed at the end of things. This is a beautiful geometric, though. It has a bit of a flying geese feel. A lot of hit or miss going on here, but obviously the repetition of the black and the red helps a lot. I think that red is probably one of those red lumberjack shirts with the red and the black, right? Because it seems to be a very unreliable repeat. So it's probably a lumberjack shirt. Very cool. Very cool. But Skinner is one of the big auction houses, right? And they do a lot with hooked rugs. It is always up for grabs what the rugs are going to go for. Sometimes it's a good price. Sometimes it's insane. And even I can't call, you know. Might as well take one of those like black, what are those called, 8 balls that Jossie uses. Is it going to be a good auction? It's impossible to know. But they do sell a lot of beautiful rugs. Next call is going to be Pittsburghy Nocturne. That is a great name. I love that name. Pittsburghy Nocturne. Let's see. Why don't I have that? Why don't I have that? Uh-oh. Okay. I am worried I don't have Pittsburghy Nocturne. Do you have a piece that says Pittsburghy Nocturne? I'm just wondering. Let me know if you do. I'm going to hold for a minute because that's important. I will certainly, if I am remiss in getting Pittsburghy Nocturne up here, I don't know how I could have missed that. But if you have it and I don't, please mark it off. And the first thing I will do Monday morning in coffee time is cover Pittsburghy Nocturne. But let me know if that is what that is called for you. I have Pittsburghy Nocturne, 30.5 by 41, number 6 cut wool on linen, designed and hooked by Fritz Mitnick, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2004. This was missing from my file, unfortunately. Yes, you have it. Okay. So Pittsburghy Nocturne is on the cards. I do not have an image of it. So that was a mistake. I will have to bring that to you on Monday at coffee time. We will look at Fritz Mitnick's Pittsburghy Nocturne, and I can't wait, but I don't have an image for you. I am sorry. It was featured in Celebration number 15. I'm going to save that text for Monday when we do that on coffee time, because without looking at it, for those of you that don't have it on your card, it's not going to make much sense. I am sorry about that. I'm sure it was my mistake. All right, so let's come here. And this call is going to be Mrs. Weigel, or Weigel, depends on what country you're from. W-E-I-G-L-E. To me, that's Weigel. Let me see if I can pull that one up. I know that one is there. And let's see. There we go. This one's so colorful. What a beauty. 3 foot by 5 foot, number 6 and number 8 cut wool on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Gene Shepard of Anaheim, California. Of course, 2015. He is just the wizard of all time, isn't he? I'm reading the thread. So this was featured in Celebration number 15, and it says, needing some geometric designs for a class I was scheduled to teach, I created Mrs. Weigel in about 15 minutes, one day while doodling on graph paper. Graph paper is great to work your designs out on. I always use graph paper. You know, it has different sizes of squares, so get all of the sizes if you can, and you'll have all different scales of designs. And he says, I have always thought of it as a good beginner's rug because it focuses on straight lines, corners, points, wavy lines, and circles. And it was named for Betty Weigel, the lady I watched hooked rugs during my childhood. So that is so beautiful. So Gene Shepard, Celebration Hall of Fame 2018. I love when something is based on a childhood memory. Looking at somebody else, I love Gene too, Daniela. He is amazing. He is amazing. But I love that it was based on somebody that he watched hooking rugs as a child. That is super magical, special. Now we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm running a little slow. Well, I'm actually okay. I think we caught up a little bit. This next call is Spring Garden. Spring Garden. Let's see. There we go. Oh, this is one I gave a spoiler of before. Spring Garden. Oh, he's a great friend of yours, Daniela. He seems like such a nice, kind, gentle person with so much talent. Crazy amount of talent. Speaking of talent, right? Spring Garden, designed and hooked by Cynthia Norwood. Now, Cynthia Norwood, this was in my notes that I don't have. She wrote, let me do this first, and then I'm going to come back to you. The dimensions of Spring Garden are 25 by 42. She is from Austin, Texas. This was in Rug Hooking Magazine Celebration Hall of Fame. It doesn't say which one, but Cynthia Norwood, we've done at least one other rug by her today. She does a lot of very nice sort of contemporary feeling primitives. I love this. You know, I had stuff that looked like this when I was growing up in the 80s. I loved to collect the serigraphs, which are sort of limited edition stenciled paintings. They had a very particular look, like a paint by number, but much more particular, and they were usually still lifes. They often had bunnies like this, and I had things that look like this, and I love things that look like this. It does have that sort of pen Dutch kind of feel to it. The matching bunnies, very simple composition, beautiful, light, lovely, loose border, really, really beautiful. But I want to remind you that Cynthia Norwood did 2 books that we have covered on Coffee Time episodes that are both astonishing. One of them is called Primitive Hooked Rugs of the 21st Century, and the other one is called Creating an Antique Look in Hooked Rugs. And they are both over-the-top, astonishing, fantastic reads. And look up those previous Coffee Time and Cocktail Time episodes on Cynthia Norwood. Because I love primitive. That's my favorite style, right? I love the very graphic, primitive stuff, much more than the realism for myself. And those 2 books that she did really, they really encapsulate the feel of the folky primitive, but bring it up to modern times and show you what your choices are if you like things that are a little bit more contemporary looking. Oh, Mom, thank you. Don't forget to give thumbs up if you like the videos, watch the videos, like and subscribe. Thank you so much. It helps the videos be visible. I work so hard on this channel running the live show 3 times a week, as you know, and I love that you're there. Please like and subscribe and all that stuff, because it really helps out with the numbers and with YouTube knowing that I'm a dedicated person. Daniela says, hold the large Pride bundle. Oh, I don't have it here, Daniela. Oh, shoot. I don't think I have. Wait a minute. Hold on. I have the new Pride. I don't have Provincetown Pride. I have this year's Pride. So last year I did the Provincetown Pride. Provincetown is on Cape Cod. That's like the largest gay community in this part of the country. One of my favorite places to hang out and check out galleries and eat and shop. So I did Peton Pride last year, but this year for Pride Month I did a different Pride set, and this is it. I'm just putting it together. This is the Keith Haring inspired Pride set for this month. And both Pride sets, the other one was more colors, but this is double cut. So this is twice as much. The monitor is awful, but they're all the Keith Haring primaries: the turquoise, the red, the orange, the really sunflower yellow, Kelly green, grape purple, absolute white, and absolute black. So, and then there's the Peton Pride. Those are two totally different sets. But this swatch set, each piece is, and I don't have my ruler, but each piece is this big. So I do oversized swatch sets. I don't do normal size swatch sets because I figure what for. But normally my swatch sets are still oversized at this size. But this particular one, because there's few colors, is this size. So this can be treated almost like a bundle if you feel like you might ever need any primary. The Keith Haring inspired set. I really love this set. I'm thinking about what to do with it too, because I love Keith Haring, and he was such a huge advocate of awareness about AIDS. He ended up dying of AIDS. So it's just such a sad story. That was such a moment in time, and that was part of our lives, right? I mean, that was certainly part of my life. So worrying about that, thinking about that, all of that was right in the front of my mind for all of those growing up years. Not too early, Mom, not too early. Much later. All right, so let me see. Let's do our next call, right? I was finished with that call. I think I was finished with that call. Tell me if I screwed something up. And we're going to keep going. It's very good, Daniela. It's very good to have like those basic colors. And I can always dye more if you find that you absolutely love it. I love that colors. I love that color set. His primaries are not like other people's primaries. They were different. That's why I chose to do inspired by, because obviously he's not public domain, right? He died in I think he died in 1990, something like that, maybe 95. Super sad. What an artist, right? And you know what's so funny is that when I was out with my mom this weekend, we were at the mall because it was a terrible rainy day, and we went to Newbury Comics, which is a chain around here. They have a lot of like super hip stuff. And they had a t-shirt, and it had a Keith Haring design. And Jocelyn, my 8-year-old, came up to me and she said, oh, what's the name of this artist again? Keith something? And I thought, I can't believe it. Because she just watched me dyeing that stuff on the stove. And, ooh, that's not near anything. I'm going to spin again. And yet she remembered it. Because I think it's so distinctive. His colors are super graphic and distinctive. And she completely remembered it. I thought, good for you. Good for you. She's a smart little button. Oh, I'm checking my phone for number 6. That's not going to work. Great Sandy. Great Sandy. Let me pull that up for you. Oh, Daniela, I got it. Wait a minute. First, I got to read your idea here because I can see what you're thinking. Daniela says, first, Sue said, so important to support the gay community. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't care who you are or who you love or who you like to go to bed with. I never think about that. I never think about that with my friends, who you're going to bed with and who you love. It's all, for me, it's all fine. I support everybody who's anything, right? Everything I support. Without being crazy, I totally agree with you. I feel it breaks my heart that there's like so much trouble in that arena right now. Now, Daniela said, so I'm thinking cut out dachshunds, right? The little dogs, like the cats in Seven Tangled Cats, and I'll call it, oh my God, Wieners on Parade. Yup, there you go. You went full circle right there. You have a wiener. I figured you had a wiener dog. That is so funny. Does your wiener dog, is he very vocal? Because my first experience with a wiener dog was when I was taking voice lessons years ago, and my teacher had a wiener dog, and he would cry at the door until she let him in, and he would come and put his paws on the piano, always like minor notes, and he would go, wow, like, because we were singing, doing operatic scales and stuff, and then coming down to cabaret stuff. But that dog was unbelievably vocal. It was like a Siamese cat. That is a great idea. You must do that, and you must show us in the group as you go along. I have got to see that. You love that, Gail. That is a great idea. You take the animal of your choice, your favorite animal, and do that kind of tessellating, right? We saw the sort of Escher, the hat tip to Escher earlier in the episode too. Do that kind of movement, move them around, make sure they're not totally lost and cut up too much that it's unrecognizable. You have to find that happy medium and then break it up as much as you like with the colors. Man, that would be unreal. Doreen says, oh, you have bingo on card number 9. Bingo on card number. There we go. We have bingo on card number 9. Well done. Congrats to card number 9. Daniela says he's crazy. That's so. His name is Gunther. That is so cute. I'm reading the threads. I think that's a great idea. Congratulations to card number 9. You have bingo tonight. I will let you know as soon as we log off how many bingo cards sold, what it adds up to, and divide it by the number of people who are holding that card. And you will be sent a code that you can use in the Ribbon Candy Hooking Store for absolutely anything. And if you're not seeing what you want and you don't want to do stuff with designs, I always feel like I have to say this, make it look like a Keith. Absolutely. Absolutely. Use his colors, use his spacing, right? And it would be fantastic. It would be fantastic. Darn, right? Well, there's always next month. Congratulations to everybody on card number 9, but you know there's only a few calls left, and I'm going to make them because I can't possibly use people's images and not give credit. So if you are logging off, congratulations. Great job to the winners. Great job to everybody. Super fun just looking at rugs together and brainstorming. But I will continue the episode until we run out of calls. So congrats. The bingo part of the game is over, so you can put your cards aside. And I'm just going to finish making the calls. And we were right in the middle of doing Sandy, Great Sandy. So let's come down to Great Sandy. And it looks like this. Oh, wow. This is crazy. Okay, this is a quilly piece. It says, well, 35 by 31 standing wool strips from woolen blankets. Okay, hang in there. Hang in there if you're about to log off. Standing wool is quilly, which means you take some wool pieces, like some flat pieces, however thick you want them. Just they should pretty much all be the same thickness. And you wind them together, coil them together like a little Cinnabon. You secure them with a needle, just needle and thread, just secure them. You can make the most exquisite design. This one includes Prati pom-poms, but standing rug is a quilly rug. And if you accidentally ever bought, wool blankets from a thrift store and you got them home and you tried hooking with them and you thought, whoa, did I do that? Because they're not going to hook. But if you did do that, you can roll them into Cinnabon shapes or any shapes as seen here in Great Sandy and use them that way. So they are not, they have not died in vain, right? They can be used, but they must be used for something more like this because they will never hook. Standing wool strips from woolen blankets designed and constructed by Kira Mead of Albany. Now, I have featured Kira Mead in the first book that I'm writing that'll be out later this year. She's extraordinary. Albany, Western Australia. Gail, are you aware of Kira Mead? She is fantastic. She did this in Albany, Western Australia, 2014. Quite by accident, I came across the art form called Standing Rugs and Quillies. I was looking for ideas on the internet for upcycling my 100% wool blankets when I happened upon images of accidental carpets. These carpets were originally created to brighten a large concrete floor in a building for epileptic children. Not necessarily designed as a functional piece for the floor, they were beautiful to look at, and they brightened the space. Thank you, Lisa. Absolutely. Please thumbs up. So pretty. I mean, you could also hook this as a design. This would work beautifully, but so many people accidentally buy the wrong supplies when they are at the beginning of their rug hooking career. And as a result, you end up with material that you can't use. Wool blankets for me is definitely one of them, but doing quilly with wool blankets is phenomenal. That is the answer. And you can combine quilly with rug hooking. You can do a rug hooked piece and apply quilly rounds or whatever shape they might be to the surface by just securing them through them, like right through the Cinnabon, securing them with a little hidden knot, and then stitching them down to the backing fabric, whatever it is, monk's cloth, linen, burlap, whatever, securing them down, and that becomes part of your rug. And then if you hook around it with loops, it really secures it really well. Beautiful combo, quilly and rug hooking. So let's look at some of the ones that we did not get to tonight, just to cover the last 3. Looks like number 5 was Hidden Lion. This was a beautiful piece, Hidden Lion. We've only got 3. Let's see. hidden lion. There we go. This is another one like Six Tangled Cats that you really have to search for the image. 22 by 16 watercolor paper and art markers. Complete. Okay, so this is not a rug. That's funny. I think maybe, okay, let's see. Let's follow it through. Completed in 1985. About 30 years ago, I signed up for a basic drawing and design class. I enjoyed arts and crafts my whole life, so I was excited to see what buried talents might be revealed. This was when I learned about the technique of graphic design that I call hidden object. You know, I think Kira put this in here. This is not a hooked rug, but I think this is a great technique idea. Listen to this. The concept was really pretty simple. Choose a simple focal subject, draw a grid on top of the object, and design each individual square as a unique part of the art piece, right? The smaller squares would come together to form the final artwork. We were given special water-absorbent paper, watercolor paper, and were instructed to use watercolor markers to fill in the squares. This is interesting. So she gave this to us not as a hooked rug piece to admire, but as a technique piece to admire. This is the same kind of idea. We've touched on this several times tonight. When you break an idea down, create one overarching piece. It's broken down into the grid, not the Hollywood squares type, right, but a diagonal grid. And it's broken into squares, and each square is patterned differently, but you can clearly see the hidden lion in there. That is really, really interesting. Designers out there, this is a good idea. You could always come back to this image and pause it if you watch this again, because that is a whole show, that idea that she gave us. The next one that we didn't get to is, again, there's only two more. Home of Jessie Smith. Home of Jessie Smith. Let's see. Home of Jessie Smith. Where are you? Beauty. Home of Jessie Smith. Dimensions 38.5 by 25.5 materials. Number 3 cut hand-dyed wool on rug warp. Why rug warp? Because it's all number 3. You can handle that tight background. Gail says that's the other side of the country, so that would be extremely far away. All number 3s on rug warp, adapted from an image from the Wisconsin Historical Society. She actually gave the ID in case you want to pause this later. I know there's some buddies from Wisconsin on, Robin. 37928. That's the image ID in the Wisconsin Historical Society. Designed by Leonard Feenan and hooked by Mary McGrath of Mukwanago, Wisconsin, 2016. Adapted from an image by the Wisconsin Historical Society again. This is the home of Jessie Smith in 1847, and this was featured in Rug Hooking magazine. So beautiful image. This is one of the ones that was not called, but not because it's not beautiful, just because it didn't happen to be called. And the last image of the night that was not called is Circus Rolls into Town. This is the second abstract one by the artist I was talking about earlier. So let's come to Circus. Thank you, Mom. Circus Rolls into Town. I wish you could see the screen I'm looking at. Oh, maybe it's the Circus Rolls into Town. I have this, yeah, there it is. It's got a the. I have it alphabetically. Very steampunk, isn't it? The Circus Rolls into Town, 38 by 38, number 2 to number 5 cut, hand-dyed as is wool on linen. So they took wool that they could find in other places and they just over-dyed it. None of this is bought new milled wool. None of it. Designed and hooked again by Lyle Dreyer, L-Y-L-E Dreyer, D-R-I-E-R, of Waukesha, Wisconsin. Robin, how close is Waukesha to you? I feel like I need to fly out there. We need to make a road trip to Lyle's place. It was photographed by Dennis Dreyer. That must be a family member. It was featured in celebration number 27. So you can find this on the Rug Hooking Magazine website. A lot of the pieces that Kira chose tonight were from the Rug Hooking Magazine website. I just love this. It reminds me a little bit of spirograph, a little bit of steampunk, and it reminds me of those... Okay, help me out here. Help me out here. What was that machine that you held up to your eyes and you put in those circles that had pictures of the Grand Canyon and Yellowstone Park, and you did like this? Right? It looks like that too. Look at it. I can't think of what it's called. But man, that really looks like that. That's going to drive me crazy. Somebody's got to write it. Thank you, Becky. I love these evenings too. So fun doing our bingo once a month. And Obviously, congratulations to the winners. But it's just fun to be together in 2.5 hours. That's not bad, is it? Kaz is coming back soon. Carol's out there ready for some fun. Viewmaster, thank you. Of course, thank you. You all got it. Fernanda, good to see you. Yeah, Viewmaster, those were fun. It looks, I'm just doing it one more time because it really looks like that. I mean, come on. At least the one on the right really looks like that. Isn't that funny? And that kind of, at the end of the episode, reinforces the idea that inspiration can come from anywhere. It can come from a Viewmaster. You could trace those suckers out and put that thing in the middle. Remember, we covered, I think on last gallery night in Toronto, Dave's telephone with the receiver, like the old time, receiver telephone from the wall. Viewmaster's that same kind of a subject, isn't it? It would be very cool to do that. Joy, you are so welcome. For those of you who won, you can be expecting an email either tonight or tomorrow morning. Probably tonight. I'm going to work for a little while longer. You can see I'm at the studio right now, and I was at my mom's house for 3 nights. So I'm going to put together one more yarn set that was on order so I can get that mailed tomorrow. So either tonight or first thing in the morning, you will get your code and you will be able to shop. If you don't see what you're looking for, please let me know because I have raw supplies of everything, right? Just blank wool and backings and everything. Tools, everything. So I keep forgetting to tell you too that I have made a deal with a buddy of mine from one of the ATHA chapters, and her husband makes the most beautiful frames, not very expensive. So I will start stocking those frames in the store. We're going to be doing that in the next month. So if you're looking for a frame, because I get emails every day about where can I get a frame, I'm going to start stocking their frames. I really like her. It's great, that her husband does such good work. And I thought, why not? Let me stock some really beautiful frames that are a good price, right? They're not like crazy. It's just like, I think we're going to retail them at maybe 140, I think we said, which is a lot better than some of the frames that you're seeing for 300, 500. And these are beautiful frames that will last you a lifetime. So all that is coming up soon. You are so welcome. It was a great episode. I love the ideas I got from you too. Happy weekend, everybody, and I will check in with you on Monday where I will pick up with the things I dropped the ball on in this episode, and I will continue looking at that ATHA magazine that we didn't get to yet. So we'll be doing those 2 things on Monday. I will run Coffee Time episodes Monday, Wednesday, and next. I'm going to have to think about next Friday night. It's my sister's birthday. Let's see how it goes. But I will certainly be with you on Monday. Good night to everybody. Happy weekend. Stay cool. If you need me, I'm at ribboncandycooking